Huh? What is that?
I walked over to the closest opening in the wall of the sawmill and peeked out. I could see a group of 5 black helicopters flying in formation to the southeast. The only visible marking on the helicopters was a lion's head.
Son of a bitch.
It was the same void insignia on that guy's uniform from the hospital. There's obviously more of them in the area than I thought. I had so many questions about their purpose here. Was it strictly data collection, or is there something more? Truth be told, I may never get those answers. Besides, what good would that do me anyway? You're not about to catch me out here running around like John fucking Rambo or Leon Kennedy. If I let myself get an ego like that, I am for sure going to end up dead. I watched as the helicopters flew beyond the hills in the distance and walked back inside to where I had camped for the previous night. I sat down against the wall and opened my bag and then sorted through the food that I had packed.
Black beans, sweet corn, couple cans of tuna, a pack of chicken ramen, and a sleeve of saltines. I probably should have taken a couple extra moments to decide what food to bring, instead of packing all of the ingredients for the most disgusting stew you could think of. Oh well, too late for that.
I settled on a can of tuna and some saltines for breakfast. Luckily, I had a water bottle attached to the side of my backpack that had been there since I went camping last. It smelled heavily of mildew, but it was about to be filled with creek water. So what does it matter? After my 5-star breakfast, I packed my things and continued south. I knew that within a couple of days, I should arrive at the next major highway, and then it's only a few miles to the west to my hometown. What would I even find when I made it there? I was terrified at the prospect of more loss. I don't think I can handle much more of that. And even if the guys are okay, where do we go from there? What are our prospects of surviving long term, dealing with the changed people and those void guys? Do we set up roots and dig in? Do we just hit the road until help that may never arrive shows up? Too many questions, so few answers. To this point, I had primarily stuck to the woods for my course of travel. Easy enough to stay out of sight, and I had gained quite a bit of experience over the years hiking and primitive camping. Honestly, I felt as comfortable surrounded by trees as I was surrounded by people. It had become a home away from home. And the skills I learned along the way were pretty damn useful in a situation like this. After roughly 2 hours of travel within the woods, I arrived at a clearing that opened up to a pasture. Immediately in front of me, there was a small hill to climb. When I reached the top,
Holy shit.
it was like a mirage in the middle of a desert. About 400 yards in front of me stood an old farmhouse lit up like the 4th of July, existing as though it hadn't been informed that the world had ended. My jaw hit the floor. For a moment, I assumed I was hallucinating. After a moment, I finally coaxed my feet into motion.
Suppose I should see if anyone is home.
I approached the house carefully, occasionally blinking rapidly to make sure I hadn't completely lost my shit. After a few moments, I arrived at the front porch. I walked up the steps and knocked on the door. A larger man in his 70s or 80s answered the door. Despite his age, he looked like the kind of guy that could cut down a tree with an axe and barely break a sweat. His presence was fairly intimidating, to say the least.
Well, hello there. You have to forgive me for passing on the pleasantries, but would you mind explaining to me why you're at my front door with that rifle slung on your back?
Oh, shoot. My apologies, sir. I hadn't even thought about that. That will take some time to explain.
Well, go on then. Explain.
Do you have any idea what's going on out there?
You mean aside from all the usual hogwash happening in this country?
I mean, in Tulsa and Sand Springs specifically.
Well, I thought something strange may have been happening. Yesterday afternoon, the news came on saying something about people being sick. But then the broadcast just ended out of nowhere. Hasn't come back on since.
Well, people did get sick or something. I'm not really sure how to say this, but they started eating each other.
The man stared into my eyes with an intensity that felt like he was reaching into my very soul. This lasted for several agonizing moments. And then...
Well, come on in. I just ask that you leave your rifle by the door. Come take a seat at the table and tell me the rest of your story. Do you like sweet tea? Oh, and by the way, my name's Rusty.
The man smiled and held out his hand for a handshake. I grabbed his hand and shook it.
It's nice to meet you, Rusty. I'm Gavin. I don't mean to be rude, but why would you let me in? I understand that what I've said can't be an easy thing to believe.
It's your eyes. You have honest eyes, son. Not to mention I can recognize the pain in them from a mile away. You have seen things that your eyes give away before your words ever could. Now, tea. Do you want some tea?
Oh, yes, please. My apologies.
Oh, no need to apologize, son. Here you are. Get you a swallow of that and start at the beginning if you wouldn't mind.
Yesterday, I decided to take a nap for my lunch break at work. I was trying to catch up on some sleep that I'd missed from the night before. Sorry, that's not important. I guess I slept through my alarm and I didn't wake up until after 7 o'clock. When I woke up, the power was already out in the building, and the inside had already been ransacked. When I looked around, I noticed there was a puddle of blood in the floor, and then I found 2 more bloody handprints on the way down to the parking garage to get my car. When I went for my car, I noticed movement, and there they were. There was a person covered in blood and gore shambling towards me. I could see a corpse behind them that looks like it has been half eaten. I had to scramble to get to my car to get my pistol. It was the damnedest thing. After warning them to stop, I shot them in the chest. Nothing. I may as well just poke them with a stick. I barely had any time to process any of this because they just kept coming at me. I shot them once more, only this time in the head. They died, or died again. I don't know how this stuff works. Anyway, I get in the car to leave the garage. There was a group of maybe 10 more of the people just like the one I met at my car, standing by the exit of the parking garage. I had run one over just to escape. Once I made it to the street, I could see more of what had become of Tulsa. Fires everywhere. Bodies everywhere. It was more of the same as I drove home. Bodies, fire, death, repeat. Finally, I made it home and collected my thoughts and came up with a plan. I was going to collect my friend Tommy from work at Sand Springs Municipal Hospital and head to meet up with the guys from back home. So I packed a bag and left for the hospital. I had to leave on foot because of all the changed people that had swarmed around my car. I snuck out to this little wooded area behind my house and moved towards the central road of my neighborhood. Sorry, I know this is getting kind of long-winded.
You are absolutely fine, son. No need to keep on apologizing. Please continue.
Once I made it to the road that went through the center of the neighborhood, I decided to go ahead and use it. I knew it was dangerous, but it was the fastest way to get to the hospital. The neighborhood is fairly desolate, save for a few barking dogs in the distance. It all went smoothly until I arrived at the final house on the left. One of those things smashed through a second-story window and landed on top of me. It started trying to bite my neck and face, and through some stroke of luck.
It wasn't luck.
Pardon?
It's apparent by the fact that you're sitting right here in front of me that you're about to tell me how you survived that situation. I don't believe for a second that luck had anything to do with it. Whether you realize it or not, you've been preparing yourself for this your entire life. I suppose it's my turn to apologize. I won't interrupt again.
Okay. When it landed on me, I was able to get my forearm under its neck and was able to keep it from biting me. With my free hand, I grabbed my knife and, well... From there, I kept to the trees until I reached the road that the hospital was on, and then I moved to a deep ditch until I made it to the hospital. When I got within a few hundred yards of the hospital, I heard a weird noise. It sounded kind of like a thump.
That I am just now realizing was the sound of a single suppressed gunshot. I hadn't realized, but I had apparently donned 1,000-yard stare as the realization set in.
You all right, son?
Yeah, sorry. Right. I entered the hospital through an employee entrance. There were dead bodies everywhere. Tommy usually worked up on the second floor, so I took the stairs up. More of the same there. Bodies stacked on bodies. Halfway down the hall, I noticed one that looked out of place. It was a guy in black tactical gear. It's actually where I got my rifle over there. Anyway, I searched him and found this PDA.
I pulled the PDA out of my pocket carefully, so as not to remove the thumb as well, and showed it to Rusty.
Now this next part is a little rough. If you've got a weak stomach, I recommend looking away.
I've seen the horrors of war, and I have processed my fair share of livestock. There isn't much that turns this old stomach anymore.
At least I warned you.
I removed the thumb from the vest and placed it on the fingerprint reader. Rusty didn't bat an eye at the sight of it. I opened the voice recorder app and played Rusty the voice recording from the agent. He momentarily furrowed his brow and then nodded in acknowledgement.
I see. Go on.
I realized that Tommy may have been the member of the medical staff that was mentioned in the recording, so I rushed to the medical records room. Sure enough. So anyway, they started burning the building, so I had to jump out of a window. I escaped to the woods and eventually spent the night in an old sawmill. That leads me to this morning. I saw a group of Void helicopters fly over when I woke up. Not exactly sure where they went, but it's somewhere east of here. From there, I just walked south and ended up here. Your house caught my eye because you still have power. How's that possible?
Oh, a few years back I put out a few solar panels, just enough to keep the lights on. You know how these storms get in the spring. Listen, son, I'm terribly sorry to hear about your friend. There's never an easy way to deal with the loss of a loved one. I lost my Maggie just a touch over 3 years ago. There still isn't a day that goes by that I don't miss her. Truth be told, there for a while I didn't know how I would make it at all, or if I even wanted to. But I know that she would beat me black and blue if I ever thought about not living my life like I always have. I know that doesn't do a whole lot to stop the hurt right now, but you just have to keep on going, one foot in front of the other, until the steps become easier. One day, you'll realize you're not walking against the currents of life with loss, but they're still right there with you, helping to guide you through the stream.
Thank you, Rusty. Maggie sounds like she was a wonderful person.
That she was. That she was.
What's on your mind, Rusty?
Oh, it's nothing that you should have to worry about.
I'm not letting you off that easy. I just dumped out enough trauma on you to last a few lifetimes. So what's going on?
Well, all right. I was supposed to be picking up my prescription for my antiplatelet medication for my heart today. And I don't rightly think the pharmacy is going to be open for me to fill that prescription.
That is a problem. Do you have any stockpiled? Or are you completely out?
I took my last one this morning.
I guess that settles it then. Where's your pharmacy?
It's in a small town a few miles to the east of here.
No sooner than he finished speaking, I stood up and started heading towards the door.
Now hold on, son. What are you planning on doing?
I'm going to get your medication from town. Is there anything else you need while I'm there?
No, I can't ask you to do that. Not with what's going on out there.
It's a good thing you didn't ask then. Pardon my language, but frankly, there isn't a damn thing you could say to stop me.
Now you sound like me. Stubborn like a pack mule. I have everything else I need right here. My root cellar has enough food and water to last me for a decade. You better make sure to get your tail back here safely.
I will. I'll see you later, Rusty.
I grabbed my backpack and rifle and opened the door.
In Dying Days is written, recorded, and produced by Bobby Richardson, with editorial advising from Mike Dodge and Ethan Cartwright. Gavin and Rusty were voiced by Bobby Richardson. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next time on In Dying Days.